You're live.
Hey everyone, welcome to Free Assange Vigil 62.4 or
hmm
444. Live from Washington, D.C. My name is Steve Boykin, and I'm joined tonight by Andrew Smith and Kendrick Christian. We will be
And
joined,
Missy.
and Misty Winston, remotely. I'm joined, like your proximity,
Immediately
just
joined.
getting to Misty. Jesus Christ. Y'all. Anywho, our guests this evening are Ray McGovern and Alex Hills from Candles for Assange. Ray should be with us in about 20 minutes. Um, but before we get into all of that and start talking about what happened at the Old Bailey today, as opposed to the Old Bailey inside the house there, because they're watching V for Vendetta, although one outcome is far superior than the other, let me run down the numbers. We have 3,564 days of illegal and arbitrary detention for Julian Assange, 518 days since the WikiLeaks founder was trafficked from the Ecuadorian embassy after being sold to the United Kingdom for a $4.2 billion IMF loan to Ecuador. Julian has been held without rearrest since, that's not true because he
You
got
got
rearrested. That's
you
right.
updated the wrong show doc.
Yeah,
Julian
Yeah,
was
yeah.
rearrested September 7th,
It's
2020, on the new superseding indictment that was issued June 24th, 2020. And I believe it was 77 days that he was held without actual arrest inside of Belmarsh prison during that time.
so 1,196 days in incarceration in federal custody for Reality Winner. But Chelsea Manning has been out of state authorities, purview, tenancy,
Sure.
for 177 days. And she does stream on Twitch 4 days a week, Thursday through Sunday from 7 to 11 East Coast time. So drop by and tell her hello and you love her. Speaking of people that you absolutely love, we got to hang out with Reverend Annie Chambers for a minute today. I did, and Kendra did. Um,
And Ian,
and Ian Schlackman.
nice to see them.
We went to Baltimore. It was raining. We got out in the projects at Reverend Annie's building, and it stopped raining. And it didn't start raining again until we got in the car and drove away. So yeah, that was a neat touch. It was.
Yeah, with our protest today, with our actions, we marched we rallied outside the CNN building for about 25 minutes ish. We marched to Google, which is directly across the street from the Department of Homeland Security. So that was fun, and we were out there for a while. The police were actually escorting us down the street, and just to describe the scene a little bit, I want to say there was 7 of us total, and 6 of the 7 were dressed in orange Guantanamo Bay uniforms while we were marching. And we all had the black bags over our heads. Some of us had our hands zip tied behind our back. We had multiple megaphones blaring. Each of us had some whistles that we were using. So it was quite the scene starting at the CNN building and then wrapping virtually around the backside of the city. Each location's about 9 minutes apart. So it was a good walk past other news outlets that were there, stores, people just coming out on the street, seeing officers escorting prisoners down the road. So we made quite the spectacle out of it. We went, like I said, from CNN to Google, and then from Google, we went to Fox News, which is located in the same building as NBC and C-SPAN. And we got to give some rousing speeches outside of there. And it was overall just a really good time. The NBC reporters were actually set up outside. Not for us, we're not that lucky, but they did turn the cameras towards us while we were there. So that was pretty cool. I didn't expect them to actually do that. And that was all in the middle of a flash flood warning. So we marched for about a mile in torrential downpours, soaking wet. It was the funnest, most miserable thing I've probably done in the last 10 years of my life.
Hey, so can you guys talk about like the kind of the reaction you've been getting from people in DC as you guys are at these actions? Like how have you been received? I mean, I saw pictures of like the sweet little nugget with a balloon and all that stuff, but have you gotten any pushback? Like, can you tell people what it's been like?
I'd say some pushback, but more like a handful, like on one hand. Otherwise, in general, it's been overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah. There was really only, like, personally, there was only 2 instances where there was someone that drove by in a car and flicked us off, but they still honked, so fuck the British. And the other time was on Monday when there was just someone on a bike that literally rode by that was like, Julian deserves to be in prison. And I asked him if he liked his tax dollars paying to kill children in Afghanistan and Iraq. And then he rode his bike away. So overall, super positive. Going from Monday, do we want to do a full week of action recap kind of thing? Or do you want to talk about some stuff?
We could do that. One thing that I think has been good is like having the
Move the mic
Oh,
so we can hear.
sorry. Thanks, Josh.
No problem.
One thing that's been good, I think, is having the teach-ins playing, and that's been like a new thing that we've done this time, and I think that's been effective, and also like with the responses that we're getting and people coming up to us and being able to hear that, and outside yesterday of the UK embassy, I'd say you get waves of traffic coming through, and with like every wave of traffic, we had multiple people hawking, so it was good.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick though, when we were in Baltimore, and I was engaged in delightful conversation with my friend Ian and my friend Reverend Annie, I noticed out of the corner of my eye that Kendra Christian here had stood up, put her backpack on, and had her hands on her hips, which I took to be a sign that it was time to leave. And so we did. But like US 50, the road that we took into DC, that was just dumping freaking sideways anvils and pitchforks by the time we got into DC, got hella flooded. So.
And it ended up being good timing, but it was to come back and meet you guys. But by that time, it was serious flash flood warning, like get off of the streets. And
there were garbage cans floating down the alleyway there a little while ago.
So if you're in DC and there's a flash flood warning, take it seriously.
Yeah, it means something.
It means something, yes.
You guys should give like a brief rundown of like all the places you went. You know what I mean? Like just a list of all the cool places you did, like a weekly rundown.
So Monday we were at the Lincoln Memorial for 6 hours. We had a tent set up right smack dab in the middle, so anyone going there to take those lovely scenic pictures or anything like that had no extra addition, right in the center of the frame. During that time, we did multiple different teach-ins. We had those playing. We played both teach-ins. We played Juan Passarelli's documentary. We also played our conversation we had on Saturday with Rebecca Vincent, as well as our 1-year anniversary vigil with Ray McGovern and Bill Binney. And we actually had a really captive audience on the stairs. People literally just came, sat down, and listened. It was something that, like, as you walked around and talked to people, because that was the whole point of the day, essentially, was just canvassing.
They can't hear.
Oh. Okay, sorry about that. So Lincoln Memorial, we played multiple teach-ins, Juan Passarelli's documentary. We played the vigil with Ray McGovern and Bill Binney from the anniversary, and Rebecca Vincent's interview from Saturday. During that time, we tied ribbons around trees, pretty much all the way around wherever the hell that pond's called.
The reflecting pond.
Yeah.
National Mall.
So we tied yellow ribbons all the way around the trees on both sides, and Kimber has some really cool footage of that we're going to be editing together. And then during that time, we basically had like flyering teams where people would go out either by themselves or in a group of 2 and pass out literature, whether it was just something describing the court case or something that took them to one of the documentaries. It was just a really cool time to be able to interact with people. We had the table set up there. So people were coming up, they were asking questions. They thought we had a live show going on. We were supposed to be joined by, Ian Schlackman did come that day on Monday to join us in solidarity. And we had another guest who wasn't able to make it, and we were planning on doing a live show with them then, but that didn't really get up off the ground, unfortunately, due to scheduling and other situations that have
The
happened.
unexpected passing of Kevin Z.
Yeah. Tuesday, we went to the Washington Post. Sorry, it's been a long week.
It's all sort of.
While we were at the Post, we put posters all the way down the side of the building.
And yellow ribbons.
And yellow ribbons
up and
down
the entire block on both sides.
the
Yellow ribboning
we
Everywhere.
we hadn't realized it, but the park directly behind the Washington Post was actually closed. So we basically got to banner the place, put posters up, ribbons up, talk to the reporters and some other people as they were walking past. Pretty much the same kind of idea of what we did on Tuesday, but just specifically because the Washington Post is a piece of trash. So we wanted to go out there just to promote the news coverage of Julian. On Wednesday, we went to the British Embassy and we
wait. Tuesday night. We went out to
The
the DOJ building. Andrew and I had sort of set up across the street in the FBI Plaza. We did an interview with Burmis, then we moved down like 110 yards or something like that. Lined up directly in front of the entrance to the DOJ building where a light projection was going on and a little LED candlelight spelled out Free Assange. We projected the teach-ins onto the Department of Justice building. And there's a couple of really nice still images with like footage from Collateral Murder or footage from the teach-in, and you can see Department of Justice on the wall on the front of the building. It's pretty goddamn cool.
Yeah. And then Wednesday, British Embassy. Okay. And then on Wednesday, we were at the set up a DC like I didn't when I got here. British Embassy's here, and then Mike Pence lives here. And then all the way down the road from the British Embassy for about 3 blocks is every other embassy. So we had the WikiLeaks van driving, the billboard truck driving around while we were there, circling the block, honking, and we were. And that was a weird sound. And we were set up right on the corner of the intersection. Like they wouldn't let us put our tent in the grass. So we put it on the sidewalk, but had to leave enough room on the sidewalk for pedestrian traffic. And overall, they were nice, but they were like a little pushy in the beginning. But when they realized we were just here to yell at people, then they were overall okay with it. We didn't set up badminton, but we did get a badminton set on Monday, which we're still going to pull that in probably over the weekend, hopefully. While we were there, we had the panel discussion going on in coordination with Popular Resistance, where we had Ellsberg and a couple other speakers talking specifically about Julian's case to reporters. And the only other place in the world where that played was blaring into the British Embassy, to the point that they were complaining about the noise that we were making, and the Secret Service told them that's why they're here, they're protesting. So that was a little reassuring because most times cops like to be assholes. So it was nice to have relatively good cops all week, honestly. And then we wrapped up there by chanting for about 40 minutes. It was from about 3 o'clock until Steve was halfway through his interview with Garland Nixon. And that was a lot of fun. We marched. I was marching up and down the length of the inside of the embassy between the British Embassy and Pence's house. And then everyone else was set up on the corner itself and down the road. So that way, literally the entire British facility within DC here was just encased in sound. And that was incredible. We had signs getting cars to honks out front. It wasn't. Yeah. Kendra, Steve, and Daniel did a great job, and Kimber did a great job getting ribbons all the way down the block and all the way back up. What else am I missing from that day? The rain. That was the first time it rained on top of us. Yeah. And then that leads us to today, which was the Guantanamo Bay protest. CNN to Google to Fox News. And we have some really cool videos. I gave a really like hoorah speech outside of those CNN or NBC, C-SPAN, Fox building. So that was really, really cool. And I can't wait to get that edited up and put in whole up on the YouTube channel. And again, it was a flood. So it's pretty intense. Kimber has some pictures up. I think it's Kimber Maddox on Twitter.
At Mean Panda, Panduh. Panda.
She has some pictures, the preliminary pictures up there. We'll be breaking it down into video and putting that up soon. But it was a day.
And then tomorrow we're going to the Australian embassy.
Maybe. They heard that we were coming, and last month they tore it down. So we don't want to yell at a vacant lot. So we're going to try to...
We're going to walk around Washington, D.C. until we find some couple, like, real live Australians. And then I'm going to put 1.5 Nelson while Andrew grabs a megaphone and screams at him.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
That's the kind of outreach that we're getting international fame for.
So what are you guys going to do? What do you guys think is going to happen? Like there's this whole, it may be like they're saying Monday, but do you think that they're going to go back on Monday? What do you guys think is going to happen?
I mean, they'll at least be back on Monday, whether or not it's...
Yeah. I just don't know what to think. I don't know what to expect, man. It's crazy.
What
does your misty gut tell you?
I don't know because
No spidey sense?
If you're running late for work, do you call in sick?
No, I call in sick when I'm getting my ass kicked, and I know I don't have a case, and none of my shit makes sense, and the witnesses that we've had have slaughtered me on my cross-examination.
That man said, well, I left my charger at court and my papers are at home and I never made it to my flat.
But dude, no, I saw,
listen, he was in his flat.
I saw somebody on Twitter who's an attorney, and he said, oh, I'm going to butcher this. But he said something like, as a prosecutor, the last thing you want a witness to say back to you is, man, I'm glad you brought that up. And that's what Trevor Tim did, I think. He got asked a question and he was like, oh, I'm glad you brought that up. And this attorney on Twitter, I wish I could find it. I'll have to, I might be able to. But he was like, that is the last thing as a prosecutor you want a witness to say back to you. And
they're
getting slaughtered.
We were reading the coverage of that, just fucking giggling. I mean, granted, I'm sleep deprived.
Yeah.
Everybody was like,
yes. It's just so apparent.
He would have been better just to concede his time. He should have just been like, I've got hit with 4 one-liners. I'm just gonna step back.
Sir, the
COVID.
Crown Prosecutorial Service is only budgeted for 3 zingers. Going to have to ask you to retract that last statement.
But that is the attitude.
Record.
That is the attitude I hope all the witnesses have carrying forward, because that is the ridiculousness of this case. We had Kevin Gostola on this morning.
Yeah, that was so funny. Seriously.
Yeah.
What we're probably gonna do, y'all, is clip out the first part where Andrew and I are slowly working through.
No, it's so funny. So funny.
Working it all out in front of the camera.
Will you promise me then that you'll at least save it and like do like a reel of bloopers or something? Because that part is so funny. I'm serious. I was getting ready earlier, and I like had it playing while I was getting ready, and I was cracking up. It's so funny. You guys are so like, I can't even understand what you're saying, and it's mumble, and then it's Sleepy Josh saying, "Steve, I can't hear you." Mumble. Like, it's just so. And then there's like a ton of dead air, and Steve's like, "This is dead air. This is bad dead air." It's so great. It's so great. If you haven't seen it, anybody watching right now, or anybody who's ever going to watch this, if you haven't seen it, go find it. It's so fun. I was cracking up.
Watch as 2 people slowly die on camera.
Fun fact.
what happened was you guys slowly woke up. Like it was like stages where it was like couldn't understand what you're saying, and then all of a sudden it was like mumble word, and then it was like mumble word, and then it was suddenly words and sentences and thoughts.
Well, Steve, it's like the normal vigil.
Yeah, you
No,
worked your way into it.
you
It's
hate-
so fun.
So Steve woke up before me and went back to bed, and I woke up before my alarm and was out here getting set up, and one of my alarms would go off, so I'd have to go back inside, and then I'd come back out to keep getting set up, and another one would go off. So it was like half an hour of that, and I go down and I wake Steve up, and then that's where the rest of that pursued.
Good story.
I know, it was really bad.
All right.
You talking shit, lady?
Should we
Arm wrestle? If you keep that up, yeah, dude.
should we get into some articles or before Ray comes on?
He should be. Did we send him the link?
Yeah.
Okay. He should be here any minute.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So we'll
Did
just
you
sit
guys
here.
make it through all of your actions? Did we get through all of them? I think
We
we,
have
did, right?
another one tomorrow, and then next week, and then the week after that.
Well,
Yeah.
in the middle of that, you guys have been doing interviews and
Yeah.
vigil at night and
Do you guys have like a place where you're collecting links for all of those appearances and stuff in case anybody wants to go watch them, or no? Or like can I like collect
That's
it
a
all?
really good idea.
I can do that for you. I could do that for you. I could collect all the links and stuff if you guys like.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I could do that because I mean that would just be an easy way for everybody to go and get quick, fast information. Like they can watch it a couple at a time or whatever.
Yeah, Taylor actually did a really good catch-up piece with Ron Placone yesterday.
I missed it. I'm really far behind on everything. I just caught up on Jimmy Dore, I think, and like I stay pretty caught up on this show and Steve's show.
So
Every once in a while.
Just a warning to content creators, because it's been happening to Steve. It happened to the Ron Placone and Taylor Hudak interview. YouTube is putting up 1 million ads on one video. So it's literally like every 20 to 30 seconds, there's another ad that's popping up on videos right now. And I've seen it a couple times on people covering Assange. So it's just one of those things. If you see something like that and you're like, they never put this many ads on a video, just shoot them a DM and let them know, or tag them in something on Twitter. Because that's just a really weird like censorship thing, I guess, that's rolled out recently.
They've been doing that to Ron a lot. Like he had like a 15-minute video recently, and I swear to God there was 20 ads.
Yeah, that's what it did with the interview with Taylor yesterday. It was an hour long, and there was probably about 30 ads. And they're literally like the bottom of the barrel ads.
yeah, to get you to stop watching it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We actually had, I have to tell Taylor, it's nice. There was a girl from my group that's like, oh, you guys have to watch Activism Munich. It's so good. It's the best updates. And I'm like, well, actually,
Let me tell you.
you weren't at that rally, but she came to join us in Denver. So it was pretty neat.
Yeah, and Taylor's actually done a really good job over in the UK too. I can't keep track of everything she does, but she was at some of the Free the Truth events that they had going on over there, I believe.
She was at imperialism on trial the other day. We're supposed to connect with her like tomorrow. So
I can add her links to the list too, right? Like, is that okay with? I don't know if she has like a thing with activism that's like not okay, but I don't see
No,
why.
it's fine.
Okay, cool,
I'm sure that they don't want their content shared.
true.
Dead air.
Floggings will continue until morale
Do you want
improves.
to jump into some of this, or do you want to wait for Ray for it?
Yeah.
Real quick, I'll try to buy some time while Ray hops in. We have call to actions up on the website. The next one will be going up at the conclusion of the vigil. It will be one solo email, and it will be for reaching out and contacting the U.S. pardon attorney. There's an office specifically here in the U.S. to review pardon cases, and I'm going to put their email address up on the website, and please send them at least 5 emails if you're ambitious, like 200. Because now's the time. There's information across our website, specifically the DOJ action that we have up there, for articles to share, information to put out to them. But the hope is to just demand that Julian be pardoned at this point, because the trial itself is such a sham. We still have the Reporters Without Borders going on up there. I have to get an update with a new set of candidate lists for this evening as well. That'll be coming up after the call to action goes live. And then the other call to action we have is still the second warning. That is going to be updated here for next week. And it's going to be something we really try to push over the weekend, which is more or less demanding that there's a public video feed open for this. After today, the trial is literally just a show by the prosecution. For them, this is nothing more than a job that they have to do that they're getting paid for. So for us, this has to be something that we apply relentless force to, at the very least, the pardon office, as well as the criminal complaint lines within the UK Crown Court system. So that way we can demand that the public be able to see this. Because if they're going to drag these proceedings on like this, just to kind of break it down for everybody, Monday, the technical issues were so bad that the witnesses' testimony was not able to be done in the full half day that they had. There were so many issues with the initial connection. Once they were connected, it broke out again. And it forced that first day witness to go into the second day. So you lost half a day one and half a day two. And then because of what has happened and transpired now, because a U.S. prosecutor wasn't willing to self-isolate for the whole time of this trial, even though the person they're prosecuting is in 24-hour-a-day isolation inside a Belmarsh prison, it's now delayed at least 2 more days. So we've lost 3 out of the 5 days of this trial that were supposed to be going on, out of a 3-week trial where we're supposed to have almost a dozen witnesses speak. 25, 2 dozen
25.
witnesses speak. And it's not acceptable. And if they're going to do it in this way, then the public has to be able to see it. Because when that fucking lead prosecutor goes on there and says, I forgot my paperwork, I fucking passed out drunk in a loft, everyone should be able to hear it. Because this is our free speech that's on trial right now. And this court video needs to be public. Because when they say that, that man should lose his job.
Real quick, like I don't know how many of you have ever been through the court system as a defendant, but I would be willing to guess that anyone on the defense or Julian himself, had they gone in front of if we could just put this off for a little bit, because I never went home last night, and I don't have my paperwork, and my computer's not charged. I'm not in any way, shape, or form prepared for this. I just washed the cocaine out of my beard. There's still a bleeding hooker over there. Like, I've got shit on my plate, Your Honor, and we're just gonna have to carry this over. I guarantee you that judge would not be like, oh, well, that sounds perfectly reasonable, let's do that.
Of course not. I mean, they've said our client we haven't seen our client for 6 months.
Mhm.
We haven't had access to the new indictment. We have sorry.
Turn the
You should
mic.
have done that before. No, you should have done that before.
Right. Literally
we've
asking
seen
for
it
the same
happen.
thing. Like, we were not given the paperwork. We do not know what he's actually being charged with. He just got rearrested. Can we delay this to figure it out? And the judge says no. But when Lewis forgets all of his shit, wakes up in the wrong house, and then waits half an hour for the other prosecutor's husband to wave the COVID surrender flag for the rest of the week, that's unacceptable. And there should be answers from the U.S. prosecution, because reporting false cases, they have criminal complaint lines for, and here in the U.S. So that's going to be something that it's going to take a little more research, because a lot of them are forms. So I have to compile those specific URLs for people to go to. But we need to know. We need to know, with all of this contact tracing and all of this bullshit that the UK has rolled out, how did this happen?
One thing too, did you guys already talk about what Stella had posted?
Mm-mm.
So Stella Morris had posted the full transcripts of, I believe, on day 3, both of those witnesses, which I thought was really great too, because I'm like, once again, I mean, the partner for sure, but WikiLeaks, coming through for the public. with the information that we would like to see, that they know we want to see, like see it for ourselves, see what was said, you know. And it's not the transcripts. I think it's just what was submitted to the court initially, but you can get a lot of information from those. And I would suggest to anybody who's, you know, wanting to follow that to take a look at those.
Well, it really is completely insane that the public doesn't have access to this case, to this trial. It's insane. It's the most important court case I can think of in modern history. I mean, this is literally the future of free speech, free press. And really, if you think about it, since free press is kind of like the foundation of democracy, if you want to have democracy, it's democracy at stake. And I use that buzzword a lot when I tweet at celebrities, because that's something that, you know, that all of a sudden that sparks their patriotism or whatever that is. But yeah, it's this is huge. Like it really is like one of these monumental cases. I've said it before. This is a turning point in human history, and people, it's kind of surreal. Maybe you guys have the same reaction. It's surreal. Like I feel like this massive thing, and people are sleeping through it, and I feel like I'm screaming, and nobody's listening, and people are like sleepwalking themselves into legitimate fascism, and I'm like, guys, over here, you know, it's so surreal. Do you guys feel that way? It's creepy.
Yeah.
It's
They
nuts.
don't need neural links to have an entire population of zombies.
It's nuts.
No, the Neuralink is just going to be for profit. And to get people hooked on the idea of transhumanism, and to basically just give even more control to a smaller number of people. That's what that is.
We need regular humanism down.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. If we could figure out how to be regular humans first, then that Elon Musk, Bill Gates transhumanist agenda thing, then maybe we can take a look at that. But we got a lot of figuring out how to be a human to do first.
So speaking of figuring out how to be a human, we're going to be putting up on the website a submission box for you to, if you do an action, if you put it, want to miss any of them, and if
Repeat
they come
that.
in,
You cut out.
sorry.
You cut out. Repeat that.
Oh, we're going to be putting up a form on the website for you to fill out to submit your actions, for us to retweet, for us to be able to see, for us to put your pictures up if you want us to. And that's just because keeping up with everything and the actual scrolling Twitter notifications is damn near impossible at this point. So that'll be going up probably sometime between when the new call to action goes out and when I update the Reporters Without Borders action.
Can I make a suggestion too, actually? If you guys could go and thank content creators that are covering it, let them know that you see them. I've been trying to do, I started just tweeting at anybody who has like a huge platform that I could maybe get to like tweet out something or retweet something or whatever, anything to draw attention to it. But I'm also noticing too that nobody's really thanking people like Mohammed Almazy and Kevin Gasola and all. I mean, there's a ton, Juan Passarelli. There's a ton of really great journalists who are working under extremely difficult conditions, like technology that doesn't work, and there's constant breaks, and there's all this chaos.
Once again, though, man, like not professionals. We've figured this out. If one of the wealthiest nations on the planet can't figure out their video feed, it's because they don't want their video feed to work.
Yeah, we can broadcast live from anywhere, anytime. Like they do it all the time. I mean, the Olympics is like every 4 years, and it's, you know, live broadcast. This is not hard. Like, and it's embarrassing that they're even trying to pretend that it is. It's embarrassing, and it's so insulting actually to people's intelligence, because this is ridiculous. You're trying to tell me that they can't manage to get a stream going and like keep it going. That's ridiculous.
We were incoherent this morning,
and we still managed to get some information across in between grunts and moans, like, you know.
Yeah.
It was early.
It's so great, man.
And we'll be doing it again and again and again.
Yeah.
The court trial kicks off on Monday again. And just depending, I believe Steve will still be here in DC. I will be back in Ohio for a couple days. But we will still be covering it at 5 o'clock in the morning when it starts. So
because we hate ourselves.
And because no one else is. It would be nice if some of these 800,000, 300,000, I don't know, subscribers, followers, channels would do a live stream and read tweets like they do on every other live stream that they do. But they're not. So
somebody has to, and because we're already doing everything else, why not? It'll be fun, dude. I have Kevin Gustola said that he's down to join us frequently for those.
He was really funny too, and really tired. And
yeah, he had some fun.
You guys have to keep doing. I mean, I don't want you to torture yourselves because I know you're tired, but it was really funny. It was great. Kevin was really funny too. He was very. You could tell. I think Sleepy even said, "You guys all look really tired."
Yeah.
I did.
But
Yeah.
Kevin does
I
get a
noticed
break.
that Sleepy, you didn't yell one time about dead air. I think you just expected it, or either that, or you were just too tired to care. I don't know.
A little bit both.
No, but again, court is suspended until Monday. I don't know how many times I can say it, but I just want to make sure everyone knows. Mrs. Dobbins, did I say that right? The UK. So I forgot about this.
Dubins.
That's amazing.
It's the Dubins.
So the woman whose husband got coronavirus, the court released their name. It's Mrs. Dobbins.
You're not allowed to say that name.
You're not allowed to say it anymore. We don't have a cloud video platform link, so we're not afraid to lose it. Her name is Miss Dobbins. She was not properly self-isolating over in the United Kingdom to be able to maintain a professional level work experience and environment. That's a travesty. And there needs to be some kind of accountability and investigation as to who or how or when or where or why her husband contracted this, and if he really did to begin with. And if it's found out that it wasn't what everyone was expecting, then there needs to be some kind of repercussion for Mrs. Dobbin for lying to the court.
Oh,
hey, this cocaine is not going to snort itself.
I didn't use it to get high.
I hate to be a Debbie Downer,
really
though.
like the
They're
way
never going to
it
do that,
smells.
Andrew.
I have no idea.
They're never going to do that.
So, if anybody out there is artistically inclined, Kevin Gustola laid out a great image this morning, and it is Vanessa Breitzer, an entirely empty courtroom, Julian in the back in the goldfish bowl, and then just monitors on one side of the judge or the other of the defense and prosecution, just to kind of show you what world we're actually living in. And what, I mean, this is full fucking
Technocratic totalitarianism.
yeah, just on this, well, not really on display because you can't fucking watch it, but the full technocratic tyranny that and that's also the techno tyranny that Whitney Webb talks about and writes about, and you can see those interviews on my channel somewhere. Occasionally I remember to plug my other show. Gonna have to wait, Pasta.
Hi, Pasta.
I think Ray may have stood us up for this one.
Maybe, I don't know. He could just be trying to finish a point he started 45 minutes ago.
That's true too.
Story time with Ray. I love it so much.
You should reach out to Alex and let her know that she can jump in pretty much anytime. But no, I do. I want to get that image into people's heads because that's really where we're at now, where the biggest press freedom trial in our lifetimes can take place with, you know, no witnesses, just a judge, a prosecutor on a monitor, and a defendant in a human zoo, because telling the truth and printing it so that other people can read the truth. The UK court system than murderers, rapists, or terrorists.
And that's the thing too, is there, I mean, this stuff isn't fully into law yet. You know, that's what's happening now, is these precedents are being set where they're like nails. I mean,
Oh,
but the
there's
lid on the coffin's already been
someone.
laid because people are
That's
not.
I heard you.
Alex inside.
Hey,
Sorry,
Hello.
now I just lost my
Hello.
how are you?
train.
Well done, you guys. I've been loving seeing the images coming from Washington. It's fantastic.
Thanks for collecting.
I haven't been listening. I just heard you say, I literally turned it on and I heard you say, oh, let's let Alex jump on. So that was kind of handy.
Why are you hitting me?
Oh, no. You were just a
I'm
microphone.
from-
Sorry.
So how has everything been going over in New Zealand, Alex?
Oh, well, everyone's gushing about Jacinda and it makes me a little bit feel like vomiting. But in terms of Assange, we've got a great active group in Auckland that are doing what they can. They had been doing fortnightly protests, and then of course lockdown happened. I wasn't doing that. I was kind of not out there really in the last month, but they had been doing a regular thing, which is really great for getting more people on board, but then it just got shut down from lockdown. And I think that Fiona Hanson, Kiwi on Twitter, she managed to do one on Thursday before the main event, but Wellington, we had 3 events, so we did pretty well. We basically stayed out from 8 o'clock until 4 o'clock. And I'm just going to pick up my phone because then I put up the banner in my living room there. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Aw,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we got 2 of these amazing banners made up by someone who I'm not allowed to mention. But we are very thankful to them, and because they gave it to us at cost.
they really are. I've been that kind of friend.
Yeah. And we had lots of people from Free Assange New Zealand donate money to pay for the cost, but it came up to about $250. So I guess that's about 200, maybe just a little bit less for you guys. But yeah, so we started off motorway. We went to the waterfront. We did a city to sea bridge, which is over a major kind of waterfront thoroughfare. And then we stuck around about 2 hours on the waterfront because it was a beautiful day and it was like nice opportunities to get the sign with some landmarks. And we had a lot of people biking and walking past on their way to work. So we stayed there for a while, had a coffee while we watched the signs because we don't leave them alone. Partly because, I mean, Wellington's hideously windy all the time. And so when we're doing the motorway, we have to actually stay with the 2 signs and keep an eye on them and not disappear. So yeah, we stuck around there for a couple of hours. We then went and did a whole assortment of law courts and literally just turning up, holding the sign up, and lots of buses going past while we were doing this each time. But we'd only be there just to take a few photos, 5 minutes, and then we go to the next place. And we did absolutely loads of monuments in Wellington. I've got way more photos than I've been sharing. So we got it really out and about that sign, but we also had 2 protests. One was at Parliament at noon, and that was lovely. We had, I don't know, 15 people. We had a speech from WSWS writer Tom Peters, who is always supporting our actions. He's from the Socialist Equality Group here. And then we went on after that a little session at Parliament, which was pretty quiet in terms of passers-by. It's not a great place to be. We went on to the UK High Commission, the British High Commission, which is literally around the corner. And we were actually using gaffer tape to write things on the fences. We're, really annoying, sticking it and spinning it round and round and, making sure it was pretty hard to get off. But we were spelling out words, which was quite cheap to do with just a load of gaffer tape. And we shouted at the British High Commission for quite a while. And we had our sign opposite so we could see them.
Yesterday, when we went to the British Embassy, we interrupt tea time with a bunch of chants and yells and screams to the point that the redcoats decided to complain to the Secret Service.
Oh, what have they got beef eaters outside or something? Do you mean redcoats as in like guarding Buckingham Palace type?
He means it in the American Revolutionary War.
Okay.
That's what he means. We haven't gotten a lot of sleep. lately.
Well, this
Uh,
is a turnaround for the books because normally I'm doing this and I can barely hold a sentence together because it's usually like 5 a.m. or I've been doing it all night or whatever. So it's kind of refreshing to be in the middle of my day, I suppose. So that's good.
Well, Alex, I asked
You're
you guys
lucky.
earlier, like, what has the reaction been where you're at? You know, they're in DC, and they said that they've had, you know, mostly positive reactions, some pushback, but whatever. What has your experience been when you're out?
Well, really good actually. We had people stop, ask for contact details, tell us, "Oh my God, you're doing such a great thing. I haven't seen anything from anyone in New Zealand. I didn't know there was anyone doing this," because obviously the algorithm is pretty crushing. I think most people who see my posts are actually overseas. We had one elderly gentleman, and I think we always have one of them, that is just determined that, you know, we're in a war situation and of course you can't possibly leak classified information. So we had one of them, but he engaged in a conversation. And Greg Full Moon on Twitter, he's the co-founder of Free Assange New Zealand with me. We are the original people that put the petition on, and he had a really respectful conversation with him and brilliant arguing because Greg is very fact-based. So it was great. And so I don't think he came round, but I think he was really challenged on what he was saying, which was cool. But overall, I think the response in New Zealand to the Assange campaign has been pretty good. I definitely noticed a constant kind of improvement of, you know, you don't get the usual smears kind of pushed back at you quite so much anymore. Definitely a noticeable improvement. I'd say not so good online. There's a lot of supporters arguing at the moment, isn't there? I don't know if you're finding that.
What happens? That's that fun little co-intel pro that they still have going on there, and those little troll.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I
stirring
think
up
COVID is challenging people with different opinions. It's challenging, and I think we just all have to be respectful of how each other feels about it. But yeah, it's a tricky one. But yeah, I've noticed a little bit of that. But I'd say in terms of the public support, it's been brilliant here. The main problem I'm having with New Zealanders at the moment is that they seem to be really asleep. And I'm looking on Twitter in my kind of trends that I, you know, see general stuff, political stuff. Arden is trending every day in New Zealand. People are absolutely overwhelmed with love. They think she's the most compassionate leader, and yeah, I've got very different opinions at this stage. So it's very frustrating to watch in that way. But and also, you know, because we're really locked down. We had, what was it, 4 cases caused the most recent lockdown. 4 cases in a country of 4 million. I think we had 1 death as a result of that, and I think it came up to 15 or 20 cases or something like that. But yeah, it is what it is, and we're all dealing with it. I know everyone's having a challenge everywhere, so New Zealand's hardly the hub of that, but it certainly seems to be the hub of using us as a guinea pig to try out stuff. And I think we'll be the trying out of cashless society first from the looks of it. We're already quite ahead of game here.
Well, please figure out a way to stop it.
Yeah.
I wish I could. I really
do it
do.
over here.
Yeah, if you could just
Yeah.
handle that real quick for us, Alex.
I'll try. I mean, we've had FPOS cards here, which are like credit cards without the Visa attached. We've had them since I got here, which was 2006. 2006. So they've certainly been going a long time. And what that's meant is that everyone's had a little chip on their card. Now, I've actually ordered a special one that hasn't got one because I'm just protesting. But yeah, everyone uses their FPOS and their chip and their pay wave. You know, like, do you have that where you can just wave over and it pays? We don't even touch anything. You know, you just put your card, go. I don't have one of those cards. I refuse to. Yeah, I think you know,
have that.
Yeah, so I think that here that we're a little bit ahead because we're such a small country that they found it really easy to take away our cash. But I think there's still a good, strong resistance here. There's a lot of people that survive only on cash.
So I'm really interested, Alex, in kind of what you thought about the court proceedings leading up to today, and then separate from that, you're.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Repeat the
Separate
question.
from that.
Oh, could you talk for a little bit about your overall thought of the court through the first 3 days with the witnesses and all that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think day one we saw Vanessa panicking. And I mean, the understanding I had from the first day was erratic behavior, craziness, going back and forth on decisions. Really, like, in all intents and purposes, a woman in panic. And that seemed to be the sound I got from the trial the whole day. And then I'm interested in the fact that the second and third days seemed to be very good days for the defense. And although we managed to get a little bit out about war crimes, that was scolded, but that makes them look like idiots. I think, anyone can see that's ridiculous if you can't even argue the war criminal thing. I'm just like, it's insane. But what I think happened is in those 2 days when she was behaving a little bit more, let's just say, not like a attack dog, although I think the prosecuting team were still, I think something happened to make her comfortable after the first day of the trial. I think she already knew. I mean, I'm being a bit conspiratorial here, but I think she already knew that they were going to shut it down on Thursday. I just feel like they had that in their mind, and so she was a bit calmer, and then it just stopped, didn't it? I don't know. I can't really work it out. I mean, what happened? Did they cough? Someone coughed, or
Okay, so follow me here because this has been all day.
right?
Right when court opened, Julian and his legal team get to meet for half an hour. So court every day is delayed 30 minutes. After that 30-minute mark is when Lewis, the lead prosecutor for the United States, decided to phone into the court on his laptop and say, I forgot my laptop charger on my desk, and I forgot all my notes on my desk, and I didn't get a chance to go home last night. I'm sleeping in my loft in London. And
He's still high.
Poor man.
some panic ensued. We're not going to speculate too much, but
Hi.
but then he tried to reconnect
Okay.
from another video platform or from another device, I can assume, because when he reconnected, he could not be seen, and he could hear and be heard in court. And Barrister said, "Well, that's good enough for me."
Right.
And then following that is when Mrs. Dobbins, whose name you are not allowed to say after the court released it already, that is again Mrs. Dobbins of the U.S. prosecutor team. Her husband supposedly may or may not have contracted COVID-19.
COVID-like.
COVID light.
Yeah.
COVID-like symptoms.
And so they had to shut court down.
Which is a cold. I mean, essentially is what we're saying, that, the light version of COVID is a cold, as we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think, okay.
That was how that played out today. So
Did the dog eat his credibility? That's
Yeah.
great. Well done.
I mean, what about the
Well done.
30-minute limit on witness statements? I mean, like, how desperate does that make them look? Really? It really does make them look. I mean, if I didn't know better, I feel like it's almost going so bad that they're trashing it for an appeal because they know it's going to go to appeal. But I mean, I know that there's been discussion about delaying the trial, but I'm very concerned that Julian's not going to make it to wait for an appeal or anything else. And this is what's worrying me, this delaying. Like, why are we wasting time in this trial? We already know the answer. It's already predetermined.
I mean, really, the reason that you go through all of the witnesses, even though you're in front of a hanging judge, is so that when it goes to appeal, entered into the record testimony, that you don't have to waste time on that part. You can just be like, all of the transcripts are over here, you go here, they're yours now, you take a look at them, and you build your case off of the strength of those arguments, certainly, but it also gives you the opportunity to delve into stuff that you didn't get to, especially in this case where they had already submitted their skeleton arguments 2 days before the superseding indictment was introduced. It sucks. It does.
Didn't Vanessa not even allow them to read that out and just said, "Oh, I've already read that. That doesn't need to be said"? Some
I don't know. I
showgirl.
mean, the prosecution is giving the witnesses like 300-page bundles of information for them to go over 24 hours before they're supposed to appear on the stand. And then the prosecution acts like surprised that they aren't able to, just pick up right on some minor point inside of 350-page bundle of material that they were supposed to study to have been prepared to be direct examined or cross-examined.
Can we talk about another aspect of it too? Because as far as I
certainly.
understand, thank you, Steve. It's very kind of you. But yeah, like the media, this is my understanding, and maybe I'm getting this wrong, but they're not even giving like background on these witnesses when they come up. So the journalists are having to go and look at information after or before, trying to get the backstory and the context of
Before.
witnesses.
Yeah.
And so they're not even going through, it's just going through the motions. They're not even, this is a huge case, and they're not even talking about the details, and it's insanity. And these journalists are trying to cover this massive case, and then they're having to go and, do all this preliminary research. And I mean, listen, I know good journalists would do that anyways, but the fact that they're being made to, and these aren't things being talked about openly in court, is troubling to me. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I don't like it.
Yeah. No, I agree. That sounds right. I mean, I do know that in terms of them trying to trip up the defense in terms of those 300-page documents, I think that one witness did an amazing job, didn't they? And completely sort of backed off everything that they tried to trick him on.
Are you talking about
and had an answer for everything, but I don't remember who that was.
Are you talking about?
I remember reading about it. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I heard that he responded really, really well to the attack dog attempts to try and trip him up, and he knew every single word and every phrase of this document. So he'd done a really good job on that. I mean, I think there's been so much exposed that already, any judge with any kind of ethics at all would already have thrown it out. So we know that there's no hope in this court. The Supreme Court, we know that it all comes down to which judge. And I don't know how much, I mean, there's no choice about a judge, is there? What happens if we just get another military complex Supreme Court judge? I don't know if you can appeal twice. I don't know, but there will be some, I'm hearing from people like the Duran, who do a really good analysis, Alexander McCoy. He was suggesting that might be the case, I feel like he's optimistic in that way, that he thinks that the Supreme Court judges may actually be a little bit more ethical than what we've got there. And harder to fix, more career-based. It would be a travesty for them to do this. They would ruin their career. Whereas obviously these magistrates, it doesn't matter at all. She's just a subordinate to Emma Arbuthnot anyway. Really. Yeah.
I do
think
that one thing, I mean, certainly it seems like a small thing of hope, but I do still think that this case, really the public could turn the tide here. And I do think, you would think that the powers that be know the difference between an inorganic movement and an organic movement, and what it means when they get a certain amount of calls. Do you know what I mean? Repeatedly,
yeah.
And then from new people. And because even with all of the algorithms, which people, we know, we see it, at key times that they cut off certain Twitter accounts, and that, you don't see that your timeline's messed up and you can't see things the right way. But even with that, I'm still seeing a lot more just different, almost individual type people coming out and in threads and responses. And so I think that's a good sign. And I hope that everybody will just keep pushing.
I think that's one of the biggest things that we can do right now, because we've talked about this before. Normies, people who aren't involved in politics and don't really pay attention, they've got jobs and kids and all that stuff. They have no idea what's going on. They don't know what's happening to Julian Assange. They maybe have heard his name. They might think he's a Russian, or, there's some whatever number of smears that they may have heard on MSNBC or Fox News or whatever. But most people just don't know. And if we can just talk about it and just make a ton of noise and get people to talk about it, you know, I've been trying to go after people who have big platforms on Twitter and trying to get them to retweet something or whatever. The more people we can get, the more eyes we can get on this, the more people we can get talking about it. I think that's going to be, I think in Juan Passarelli's documentary, Nils Melzer says something about, you know, the courts can't handle this. They've shown that they have no care for, you know, and I'm butchering this terribly, but something to this effect. But he was saying, you know, this is in the hands of the public. This is in the hands of the media to inform the public, which we know they're not going to do. So here we are. But we have to keep, you know, talking about it, keep pressuring content creators and journalists to cover it. You know, that I think you're right. I think that's absolutely going to be what turns the tide, is just people making noise.
Yeah, I mean, one of the worries I have about our impression of how well this is going is the algorithm silo. You know, we are, I am pretty sure that the people that our information is shared with is getting increasingly large, but I think that they're all converted already. They tend to be the people that they can safely give that message to without actually increasing support. And I think we may see that online ourselves in our little silo, but I'm not sure if other people outside are seeing that, especially given the hidden responses on Twitter and the, you know, the Facebook fuckery that's going on. One of the things I do a lot is jumping onto live streams of all of my favorite news shows, ones that haven't spoken out, ones that have, and just keep on reminding them, but also people in the comments section, because they often have very live chat, you know, exciting live chat with thousands of people. So I often try to do it, like, if I can, a super chat or just put a comment in as quick as possible, so that it'll tend to get responses. And once someone's replied to it, it tends to get even more. So that seems to be a good way of getting it across. But the other thing I think is way more powerful is this notion of on the street, out in the public, us all individually, no matter who you are, let get some signs, get some, you know, like the sort of actions that you've been suggesting all along, but talking to people and having signs up to just remind people, so they may just be prompted to go back and look into it a little bit more. I think that is almost more valuable in this day and age than some of the social media stuff that's going on. I'm not convinced. I mean, I don't know. It looks good from where I'm sitting, and it certainly sounds better when I'm dealing with people in the public. But I hope it really is a true translatable benefit. I mean, on Facebook, for instance, I kind of gathered a long time ago that they, the bots, the number of ghost profiles that you friend because they've all got 100 mutual friends, and you think that they're well into this, and you see a couple of sort of posts that they've done, but they don't exist. And so what that does is basically waters down whatever reach you already didn't have. It waters it down even further, doesn't it? Which is so frustrating. I am almost off Facebook now because I've been lynched by a rampaging mob of my high school students.
Well, if Australia is any example, I would absolutely recommend, for safety reasons, especially being in New Zealand, because it's one of those test ground places. Because people have gotten arrested preemptively in Australia for protesting.
I know.
But I did want to talk to you. Not that that's not super important to talk about, but I wanted to talk to you most specifically about what Candles for Assange has been up to, because there are protests around the world right now, and I was wondering if you could run through. I know it'll take a while, but I wrote it up with us.
I wrote it up in a list because it's quite hard to get through my thread and my Facebook post. It's a long list, and also it's in a bit of a peculiar order. My thread is mostly in chronological order for the entire month. So I've been calling it, 100 plus events in 16 countries for show trial month. So, and obviously you guys, with how many are you doing? Like 20 something events planned?
I mean, yeah, about that.
Yeah. You certainly bumping up the numbers there, you guys.
Well, no, I mean it would have been 16 anyway, but there's going to be days where we do multiple actions.
Yeah,
so
good.
It'll be about 20.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
together.
well, like on our protest day, we had two protests that were one after the other, just around the corner from each other, the UK High Commission and the Parliament. But we also spent from 8 till 4 all around all the landmarks, getting cool photos while we were, talking to people and handing out pamphlets. And that, I think that really, really, really went down well. And I mean, one day out of your life is not much to give. We could do that more often. I'm sure I can do that more often.
You definitely need to bring a helium tank and balloons.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, here it's just like
balloon.
trying to hold down the sign in the wind is usually the biggest issue.
Okay.
But I'll go through like the list of events that I had. So what we're trying to do is just literally keep an eye on anything that is tagged Candles for Assange, and keep an eye on all the groups that I know about that have done Candles for Assange in the past, or new groups, and basically just trying to gather them all together in one place so that people can co-promote each other's events, because I think the importance of our feeling of solidarity as supporters, because many of us are very isolated. I'm thinking here of Mags in Darwin. She has been doing events every single day of the trial. She has a picnic, candlelight picnic on Saturdays. She has a market day, and she does a stall 4 days a week. So she's been doing that for the whole month. And she's very isolated. She finds it really hard. She's on her own doing all this. And sure, she talks to people in the public, but I feel like this solidarity, this co-solidarity is going to help bring more people in, that's what it's always been the focus. And also, if you can group together a few events on one tweet, then the people from the other events will promote it as well. And so that was the idea, is really just to try and get it out there. And of course I've got the Facebook group as well, which is doing the same, and it's very focused on events and information on Assange and nothing else. Great photos, campaigns, all that stuff. It's a really active group on Facebook, so give it a check out if you want to see what events are coming up in the future, and I'll keep it up to date as much as I can. I have got a website as well. I'm pretty bad at keeping it up to date. I'm not the greatest web designer, but anyway, I'm doing what I can. So yeah, we had 4 continents. So we had North America, South America, Europe, and Australasia. In fact, New Zealand has just been announced as its own continent now. I don't know if you knew that. Did you know that?
Its own continent.
You guys are lucky.
Yeah. I know. We've just increased our sea miles by like massive amount, because they've uncovered an underwater continent called Zealandia. And you can see it underwater on the maps. You can see the shape of it. It looks like a great big.
For more sheep than people and be your own continent.
Yeah, isn't it great? So, anyway, but strictly speaking,
all the coins. We have the document.
So we had in Canada, we had Sherry Drums, who's the wonderful drummer who does a lot of music for Assange, and she's been online for Canada.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so they did a gig on the Sunday before the trial started. Toronto did one as well on the Monday with Steve McMaster. And then in USA, so we had Santa Cruz, Denver, 2 in New York, your massive amount all the time, and San Francisco. As far as I know, did I say Denver? Yeah. Those are the ones that I know about. There was an online USA protest as well, I guess you could call, via Courage Foundation with, I hope people saw that, Jimmy Dore, Chomsky, Daniel Ellsberg, and Alice Walker. So that was awesome from North America. South America, we had Peru, Lima. We had a little solo UK embassy deal there. We had Brazil online with Fabiano Lima. We had Mexico solo online, and then we had Mexico doing a street protest, and the group there is called 24 Comité y Libertad Julian Assange. I don't really know how to pronounce it in my Spanish, but that group, and they did a street march in Mexico. And then in Europe, so obviously London's going hard. We've got Ali May 101234 on Twitter. She runs the Candles for Assange in London. Now, I think for now almost a year or more, they have been doing weekly protests. They started off being just midday at Belmarsh. They started to add the 4 o'clock one at Piccadilly Circus. Now, I don't know if you saw, did you see that video with like 100 people in Piccadilly Circus screaming out free Assange?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so that was Ali and her crew there. I'm going to call it her crew, but it's JA Defence and all the people in London, really, but
Yeah.
especially led by her and David Simpson Media. So they were having their normal weekly protest at 4 o'clock at Piccadilly Circus. And about 100 lockdown protesters walked past. And they were all on board. Not one of them was anti-Assange. They just came and they joined and they all yelled out free Assange and they totally supported. And I think in terms of like giving back some of the love, Ali went and stood at the back of their lockdown protest that was in Parliament Square. And they, you know, they had like 30,000 people or 20,000 people. I'm not quite sure how many, but it was really great exposure. The fact that that sign was at the back and they were doing their usual pamphlets and people in costumes. I don't know if you've seen the Candles crew, but they're often doing things like you were doing with the, you know, Guantanamo Bay. You know, they're always doing
that
what
was an awesome act.
Yeah.
That was an awesome action when I saw that. That was incredible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it
so
wasn't
that's
pouring
great.
down rain, so they actually got to be there for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. So
We've
yeah, that's what's
literally
been going on in
talking
London. But
about that since February.
yeah.
Wanting to
Well, so
do
that's what London's been doing for their one-off event, for their weekly events. But then during trial month, they're doing every single day down the Old Bailey. Now that the trial has been suspended, I think they'll still go. I know this crew, and I think they'll still be there.
If you are an activist on the ground watching right now, still go. It doesn't matter if this trial gets suspended. This 3 weeks is that important that even if halfway through week 2 something gets suspended, we still need to be in the streets, even through week 3 and beyond, because this is something that's only going to get resolved with public pressure.
Well, I think they are doing that because I saw a video that was really quite live that David Simpson had just put on, and it was MIA, you know, MIA University rapper. Yeah. So she arrived in a car, and David went, "Have you got a message for Julian?" And she bloody sung her new song, didn't she? So like, she did a whole little video for him, especially for Julian. And I mean, the song is for WikiLeaks and Julian anyway. Control, so her rap song is really good actually. I really enjoyed it. But she just cruised into the protest in her car and gave out that little thing. So that was nice. So I believe that until the end of the month, everyone is going to the Old Bailey every day. And I think that, so there was that massive lockdown protest in Parliament Square that I think they got a lot of exposure with, which was the weekend before. So that day, on that Saturday, they must have gone Belmarsh Prison at noon, Parliament Square at 2:30, followed by Piccadilly at 4 again, because they didn't want to let down any of their weekly crews that might be turning up. So they did the whole shebang. And it's not fun to get around London in. Oh, no. Mind you, it might be different now in lockdown. I don't know, but yeah, it can't be that much fun. It's very trafficky and annoying. But so Scotland, we had one in Edinburgh, and by Scots Defend, who are always doing wonderful work. Of course, Germany kind of basically made us all look like we're really, really lacking in any effort at all, because Germany has all their weekly stuff that's been going on forever. They've got Candles for Assange Germany, you've got Free Assange Committee Germany, we've got Frankfurt, Free Assange Frankfurt, we've got Hamburg for Assange. There's Friedrich Kotzbos, which is in Cottbus, and we've got, what is there, Stuttgart, and I believe that Dusseldorf is doing something, although I haven't seen the listing. In Frankfurt, not only did they do a normal protest and their weekly protest, but they also are running the We Are Millions exhibition. Yeah. So that's one of the other reasons for a lot of events, because from the 4th to the 14th of September, there will be We Are Millions in Frankfurt at the Art Gallery. The name escapes me right now, but I've got that listed down. So that's Germany. We had Austria do their weekly protest this week. Italy did one on Monday. Brussels did one on Monday, I think. Norway had a special protest. Now, that was a Swedish investigative journalist called Arne Ruth, and he is really campaigning against the Swedish courts. He's trying to hold them to account, I guess. And So he called a protest at the Swedish embassy in Oslo. Meanwhile, Sweden had their own triple protest, which I don't think they've all done yet. You'll find there's some more coming up soon, I think, in Stockholm. Yeah, and of course in England we also had the online event Imperialism on Trial. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's being run by George Samuelsey. I don't know if that's how I say it, but I know him on Twitter anyway. So that was Europe. Now Australasia, we have very special event in Hobart, which sounded like some kind of image projection, maybe walking around, a bit party, which sounded interesting. I haven't seen any photos yet, but they are also holding, I want to mention Hobart for Assange because there's a very important Australian online event coming up soon, which I have to mention. And Hobart for Assange, if you look at that hashtag on Facebook, hopefully on Twitter, you'll see some posts of it. There's certainly an event on Facebook. Canberra for Assange is hosting it, and Hobart for Assange. So yeah, Hobart did a protest. Darwin, as I said, Mag's there, who's key person in Candles, like Nat. Mags has been doing daily things on her own, and she's a trooper, really amazing. Like I said, she was doing the stalls every day in the 4 days a week in the park in Darwin, and then she was doing a little picnic on the Saturday and market on the Sunday, or what, you know, there's a whole weekly schedule. I think she only gets 1 day off, and she's doing it all on her own. Adelaide, the Australian for Assange crew did a protest. Sydney, they have theirs tonight. So Sydney haven't done theirs yet. So they have their weekly People for Assange Sydney Town Hall gathering. I think they're up to their 42nd Town Hall gathering, so that's a real feat. They've obviously been keeping the weekly protests go, COVID or no COVID. That's really impressive. Melbourne, obviously, for obvious reasons, fascist state takeover, are not able to protest. But Rain, who's Melbourne for WikiLeaks, she's actually Kiwi. I don't know if you know that. She's a Kiwi. But Rain, who has been arrested before outside the British High Commission, and I think she got off with a very light fine, and the judge almost said, good on you, which is good to hear. But Melbourne, unfortunately, because of the craziness that's going on there, and I can't condemn it enough, she only got to do a little solo thing, and she was feeling bad, and I was like, don't be stupid, really, be safe. But I mean, be safe in terms of not getting arrested is what I'm saying. But anyway, Brisbane had a fantastic, huge event from the looks of it. Kieran O'Reilly and Action Assange, which is one that comes up every time I write Action for Assange, and I see them. They're the Brisbane group. So they did a lovely big protest at the UK High Commission there. Also probably UK consulate, actually, because it's Brisbane. As I said, Auckland, they did their little event last Thursday. Not very many people came, but still very positive reaction, she was saying. We did our 3 on Monday in Wellington. That's where I'm from. It's raining and windy here, of course. And I think that is actually it. I think that's it. I think I've covered pretty much all, but in terms of how many events were on, I mean, there was over 100 if you count every day of the exhibition and all your events and all the London events. And I don't think I counted all the Darwin ones even. But we had 7 events on the 5th on Saturday. On Sunday, we had 6 events, 6 cities. Monday, we had 21, which is pretty good. I mean, that's almost up there with February 24. I think we had 24 on that day and 125 during the week or 2 weeks. That was pretty impressive. But yeah, 21 events that I know of. I mean, there may be many more. I had some people from Uganda and Valencia in Spain and a few other places contact me, and they put their city name and flag down, but they never tell me anything. So I don't know what to do with that. So they never come back to me, but I've had that happen a lot. So maybe they just wanted to do a solo thing and keep it private, which is fair. And so, yeah, 21 on the Monday. And then I'd say because of you guys in London and Darwin and a few other, you know, weekly events from Germany and Sydney and all those places that keep on going, I think we got about 3 to 5 every single day until the end of the trial. So really impressive. People are putting in loads of effort. My one last message on that would be someone asked me from, I think it was DEA campaign, they asked me if I could gather footage from these protests, particularly video footage, so that we could montage it all together. Now, Kimber, I should say I was gonna do that idea with I was gonna try and get that idea going with the idea of having a statement that, say, Stella or someone from the family would have written out for us, and then every country,
Are
every
you
city.
calling Kendra Kimber, or are you addressing the camera in the hopes that the mean panda is watching from the
look,
other room right now?
you'll just have
Because
to
that's
excuse
the
me.
distinction with the difference, and like they're over it. It's
Kendra.
the names have been getting switched up since February
Oh,
because Andrew
is it
likes
Kimber
putting
Maddox?
death
Kimber Maddox.
like it every huh?
Is it Kendra Maddox? No, sorry. Who was it who wrote to me about doing a statement and reading it out and doing a montage of all the different cities reading the same statement? Who was that? Was that
That was definitely Kimber.
Yeah.
Kimber? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So I did try to get that going. I even had a contact here in New Zealand who sounded like he was going to help me. That's John Shipton put me in touch with him. But I haven't had much luck, to be honest. I did have a bit of news though. I asked Nikki Hager, who is New Zealand's top investigative journalist, particularly in the dissent world. I asked him, I sort of begged him really, could he please turn up to our protest so that I could convince a few more people to come along? And he told me something interesting. He said, I can't because I'm giving evidence in the trial. So, I mean, I was a bit surprised by that, but I guess Nikki Hager has worked with WikiLeaks. He did part of the redaction, I think, with some other journalists that all travelled and worked with them together somewhere. I remember seeing that, and I know Nikki Hager was part of that. So I guess Nikki Hager is due to be giving evidence in this next month. I'm not sure. But it was intriguing. I don't know why you wouldn't want to. Can you not go to a protest if you're going to give evidence? Do you think that's just an ethical thing?
The court might just call it a conflict of interest.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting in case no one knew. Yeah. So I think that is my whole list of what we've been trying to do. And yeah, if anyone's got any film footage that we can montage together somehow, it would be great if you can tag me in it or send it to me. I will be happy to send my email address to anyone who messages me on Twitter or Facebook. So I'm Alex Hills on Facebook, by the way. And I've uploaded a bunch of protests actually to the protest footage to my channel, Alex Hills, for the time being. But I've only got about 200 subscribers, I think. So it doesn't get out very far.
I would love to hear Misty's take on this, like, first, I guess, week of hearings, because there have really only been 2 days of witness testimony out of the 4. And I think an insult to, shit and shows.
Yeah, this is gonna make me rant though. You know how I get. Okay, so it's a shit show.
That was the whole point in asking you. Although I was trying to be subtle and not have to come right out and explain it.
Okay. Well, okay. Here goes. It's a shit show. It's beyond a shit show. Guys, see, this is why I don't like to rant, because I get flustered because I can't find the right words. It's so critical that this is, talked about, and this is a big one. And like we were talking about earlier, it's surreal. It's this huge, massive, super important court case. It's going to decide a lot of things, and we're like sleepwalking into it as a species, and it's so crazy. But yeah, it's a shit show. I mean, like you guys have been talking about, dude forgot his power cord. I mean, okay, that's like my 9-year-old wouldn't get away with that at school. You know what I mean? Like, for real. They would like, they're kind of rough at school about stuff like that. If you forget stuff, like your parents aren't allowed to bring it in. At my kid's school anyway, it's kind of refreshing actually. But yeah, it's all crazy. His human rights are being violated. It was a 50-week sentence, and he's now been in there for how long? How many days has it been? A year and a half, something like that. So yeah, it's all so fucked up, and I just can't find the words to get people to care. I try.
You've
I
been
know.
doing a hell of a job
Mhm.
holding it down on Twitter,
Well,
because like
listen, I have
when we're gone, when we're out during the day, like I'm lucky if I remember to upload a picture in a thread of what we're doing, but
yeah.
I'm not looking at anything. I'm not trying to like jump into a conversation or even tweet at anybody, you know, and you've been fucking relentless,
Mhm.
dude, and just mad respect.
Well, here's the thing. I find myself in a situation where I have kids and I have a husband who has just a unreliable, like the hours are crazy on a normal basis, but then in like the time of COVID, it's like he was supposed to be off today, wasn't. So yeah, it's just like it. So I can't be in DC right now. So what I can do is, use my small platform on Twitter to try to get the attention of some big name accounts, or or like even just battle back against misinformation. I mean, I used Caitlin Johnstone's debunking Assange thing. I think Susie Dawson, it was the funniest tweet ever. Somebody said one of the smears about Julian, and Susie tweeted back at them, "Congratulations, you win number," I forget what it was, but Caitlin has that article that's numbered, the different smears. And it was like number 7 or whatever. And she's like, "Congratulations, you win number 7." She posted Caitlin's article. I'm like, that is the best tweet I've ever seen. It was so good. So yeah, that was funny. But that's what I can do, you guys. And I feel bad that I can't always be out in the streets. And it's weird because when I was like in my 20s, I was, but now that I have kids, it's a lot harder. And so yeah, that's all I can do. That's all I can do. I'm not in the streets. Like what you guys are doing is so important. But if all you can do is get on Twitter and make noise, do that. If that's what you can do it. If you can make phone calls, do it. If you can write emails, do that. Whatever you can do, just do it. I mean,
I
everybody
think
can do
one of the
something.
things about Twitter accounts is that and Facebook accounts is that we are as activists very shut down, very we're really struggling, aren't we, to get the word out. But not everyone is. I mean, people who haven't tended to do many political posts, they're not yet. And so I think they underestimate their power because they maybe don't have many followers or whatever. But I think it's almost way more valuable if we could get every single normal person who hasn't got a platform to also message about it, because then it just gets out of our silo. That's my real concern. We've got to get out of it. I had to come up with that idea before about serendipity for Assange, to try and encourage people to go on a kind of serendipitous journey through the internet, to post comments so that you can prompt some new contacts, because I think we're repeating, and there's a massive amount of us all responding to that, but we're all activists. So I think just normal people tweeting out, even with 5-10 followers, is way powerful. Don't underestimate that.
Okay, I've been meaning to say this for most of the vigil right now, though, but now's a great time to go to Craig Murray's blog and just catch up on his last his coverage of the last 3 days, because Craig Murray writes a book when he goes to write a paragraph, and it's well worth reading. Craig Murray is only allowed in as part of like the friends and family section. He's not allowed to bring a pen and a paper into the courtroom. He's not allowed to be there in his capacity as a journalist. The National Union of Journalists would not give him his credentials.
Because
he's currently being persecuted by the Scottish government.
Turn your mic.
Right.
What?
Turn your mic a little bit. There you go. It was getting muted.
Yeah, over Alex Salmond, and the, I think, fake accusations that he wrote about the court case, wasn't it? And he was apparently in contempt of court for even discussing it, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Something.
and what the Scottish court is trying to do is get him on something that they call like breadcrumbing, where he doesn't exactly out somebody, but he leaves a trail of breadcrumbs that people can then go research and follow, and that is now somehow illegal.
And on top of that, in the court case itself, it cites his work on WikiLeaks during the first round of Julian's hearing as a reason to actually call him a prolific journalist.
And a
Sorry.
problematic journalist.
And a problematic journalist as well.
Yeah.
I love the picture of Alex. Like,
Just running
around.
back and forth across the room. Fucking great.
We should wrap up though.
Yeah,
It's pushing midnight.
we're getting awfully silly, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap. Alex, will you give us some final thoughts and please tell people where they can find you?
Wait.
Oh.
Before Alex, I want to say thank you so much for putting everything together, because like out in Denver, that's one, it's really helpful, and two, like, you know, we had planned to do an event for the 19th that was going to be like our big rally day, and then through like, you know, you start to get, we're like, okay, we're going to do something on the 7th too, you know, because everybody else is doing it, and so seeing that all together, you putting everything together, it just really keeps the momentum going. And you know, everybody who's on there, thank you so much for, I try to, on the Denver account, share as many of these events as you can. And so anybody who's watching, every time that you share our events on the ground, I know it means so much. Like when I see a lot of retweets for something we do in Denver, I get so excited. You know, group, like, please help encourage the people doing stuff on the ground. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you, because it's a lot of work.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for all your actions. I think that is one of the the two things that I think really help encourage people to do actions. And I didn't really get around to it this time, was doing those maps where you put on the little flags everywhere. I think people want to take ownership. They want their city to be on the map. They want, even if they're not really doing much, they might just go to a war memorial. They might not do anything. I don't know, not turn up. But people are just desperate to get their name on the map as a place where Assange support is. You know, I think that is a real, you know, desire. But also by grouping them together in those threads, I think that the cross-pollination of all the people helping each other. I mean, even if it's going to the wrong country where you probably not getting so much Americans with some of these, the great thing is, I think you can trust every single person who organizes those protests, because they've been doing weekly protests for so long. You know they're the genuine deal. And so if you go and contact the Twitter account of every city, you'll see there, you will get a genuine person on the other end. I think that's one really encouraging thing, is to know that you can trust these people. And yeah, I think it's a great idea to keep cross-pollinating, cross-promoting each other's ideas, just for the solidarity thing, so that people don't feel so alone, because sometimes you do.
So if you could let people know where to find you, Alex.
Okay, well, I have a YouTube channel called Alex Hills. There's a lot of music on there because I do violin, and you know, got a few bands here that I play with, gypsy and all sorts of styles. But I've also got my mate Timothy, my best mate, and we do quite a few little songs together. We've got a Julian Assange song. I put it on that thread actually, just for a little bit of an interlude at the bottom, with a general note. But yeah, so I've been doing a lot of music there. You can see our actions. I've got 1 or 2 documentary, kind of little mini documentaries on there. One about Cassandra Fairbanks's interactions with Arthur Schwartz, is it? Aaron Schwartz, is it? And I've got some great footage actually where you can see the New Zealand Parliament refusing to let us gather email addresses from other supporters. We challenged that, and we managed to, well, I mean, they had no leg to stand on. Basically, the Speaker of Parliament, which I believe is Trevor Mallard, he just decided one day that Assange supporters weren't allowed to do any petitions, weren't allowed to collect signatures from each other, not allowed to share details with each other. And we were like, this is ridiculous. This is like Orwell. So we captured that without actually capturing the the face of the guards that were telling us these Orwellian things. But I got banned from Parliament that day, so that was a bit of a shame because, yeah, it'd be nice to be able to access my Parliament. But I've also been threatened with a trespass order at my local MP's office. So, and that was just for threatening to stand outside with a sign. So, just saying that I'm not being represented, but they didn't like that. So, yeah, it's pretty appalling, obviously, from politics here. There isn't even the Green Party like there is in Australia that supports Assange, or their 11 politicians. I know he's not Kiwi, but it is pretty crazy how clueless. Like our Green Party, they're all Russiagators. They're all, ooh, it's a bit slimy, isn't it? You know, I don't want to be associated with that. You know, it's big as belief that these people could really believe what they say. But anyway. I rant. I'll stop. So, Alex Hill's channel on YouTube, Greenweaver Art, which is like my business Twitter actually, but it's kind of gone like this. I'm thinking I might have to change my handle one day to something shorter. But Greenweaver Art is my personal, and Candles for Assange with the 4 is the one where you'll find all the pinned tweets, which have got chronological events for the whole month. And I will keep on adding to that if anyone sends me any more information. Also, you will find the Facebook group called Candles for Assange. It's about 2,400 people and it's really active. Lots of really great people on there and lots of good information. So that's a nice place on Facebook. Last but not least, candlesforassange.com. There's a whole lot of old stuff in there. There's like old press releases and yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff on there. Oh, and one more thing. We got a press release published in Scoop for the day of the trial. So I didn't think there was any chance of that, but we managed to get it. I thought Scoop had stopped printing our stuff, but it must have just been a glitch. They are back to printing our press releases again. So I guess that's me.
Well, thank you very much again for joining us. My name is Andrew Smith. You can find me on Twitter at Andrew Zigmund, Zigmund. I would like to thank everybody for joining us this evening. Alex for hopping in at the last minute here. You can find us on Twitter at action_4 Assange. You can also find our website at actionforassange.com with all of our call to actions and our coordinated campaign with Reporters Without Borders.
And my name is Kendra Christian, and you can find me on Twitter at edebs13, and you can find Denver Free Assange at DNB Free JA. I love your Twitter or your whatever these hands are. Andrew.
Jasmines. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. I don't know why, Andrew. I'm sorry. I don't mean to torture you, but seriously, I just love it so much.
Yeah, great to see you, Alex. Great to see everybody and hi to everybody in the chat. And today's my last day in DC, but you know, you guys.
And I'm so sorry for getting your name wrong, Kendra.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for saying that. It's not okay, you know, but it's okay.
I can't get Sherry's right either. It's either Shelley or Sherry or, you know, it's the same. I don't know why.
Okay, so I'm Misty. You can find me on Twitter at Sarcasm Stardust. I host another show called Facts on the Ground with my friend Jesse. So you can check us out on YouTube. We have a Twitter, but we don't, I mean, sometimes we tweet there, but not often. So yeah, thank you guys for having me on. Thank you, Alex, for coming on. This was a fun chat. It's cool to see all the different things that are going on all around the world. That's like a little morale boost to know that there's so many people out there doing, so many cool things. So thank you for that little pick me up, I guess. And yeah, just thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for what you guys do. You're amazing.
What? Oh, well, thank you. You put in a tremendous amount of work in the last year plus, Alex. It's been amazing to watch you just bring it all in and then put it all together. It's been great. My name's Steve. I have this show called Slow News Day. You should watch it if you're not already. I highly recommend it. I hear I get the best guests on the planet. I'm definitely going to have Reverend Annie on the show here soon. I wasn't going to feel good about coming out here if I didn't get to go hug up on that woman. She's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Misty, Kendra, Jazz Andrew, Sleepy Josh, Me Panda,
Thank you to Josh. The
everybody
hardworking
else.
Josh.
Thank you.
You guys are fucking awesome. To all the people that pitched in for the go. We don't get to do any of this without you. So so thank you very, very much. And we won't see you at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning because there's not going to be a hearing tomorrow morning. But look for those dumbass early streams with like grumpy disoriented us and grumpy disoriented Kevin Gastola, which is probably going to be sheer fucking comedy.
I hope we can get Grumpy Mo, because I feel like
Grumpy Mohammed El Mazi would be fun too.
Hell yes.
I'm for that. I am.
Make that happen. Make that happen.
That's what we do. We make things happen here at
Yes.
Action for a
And
Song.
that sounds like comedy
Every
gold.
single time we leave our houses, we make
Ooh.
things.
Ooh, get Ron Pastorelli too. I bet he's
Insane.
fun, Grumpy.
But yeah, that'll do it, you guys. We'll probably be back at some point tomorrow, I'm sure. We got to do like a whoever's left after Kendra leaves fucking hangout session and all around thank you video. So look for that, and we'll talk to you soon. Good luck to us all.